Washington to Beijing, Moscow to Abuja, London to Kigali. The world is shifting fast. Elections are shaping destinies. Wars are redrawing borders. Economies are rising and falling. And global alliances are being tested like never before. But what does it all mean for you?
With a new administration and a new president in the White House trying to put an end to the war.
I didn't know the historical context, what the state of Israel means for them.
Join the fearless Ireti Bakare-Yusuf on Borderlines every Friday at 4 p.m. on Nigeria Info 99.3. As she dissects the biggest global events and their impact on world peace.
Those who are not familiar with Israel or the war itself would not know much about the group breaking the silence.
No spin, no propaganda, just deep insights and fearless conversations on the geopolitics shaping our world.
People who will call and start telling you about the Bible prophecy about America and everything. See, America is not in the Bible.
There's some people who, yes, they share the ideology of, yes, we and these people, we are equal, but they can't speak up.
Borderlines on Nigeria Info every Friday at 4 p.m. The world is changing. Don't just watch, understand it. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Good afternoon, Lagos, Nigeria, the diaspora, wherever you're listening to us from. Welcome to Borderlines. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. So let me set a scene for you. In a world flooded with content, atrocities and chaos and now compete with entertainment. From TikTok to Instagram, social media has become a battleground for truth, visibility, and influence. In Gaza, where foreign journalists are not allowed, Israel doesn't allow foreign journalists in, and we are blocked. So we depend on the Gazan journalists on the ground. Now, the digital witnesses are now broadcasting what many call a genocide. However, this digital revolution is a double-edged sword. I'm sure you'll agree. While platforms offer unprecedented reach, algorithms often distort the message, amplifying some voices whilst also silencing others. Images of suffering go viral, then suddenly vanish as the killing continues unabated. Today, it is an absolute pleasure for me to have a friend that I made. Remember, you all remember when I went to Istanbul to the Palestinian Media Conference? Yes, she is a digital storyteller, a vocal advocate, a satirist, an actor, and a producer. Her name is Nicole Jeans. Nicole, welcome to Borderlines.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me, my friend. It's so nice to hear your voice and see your face.
It's lovely to have you. It's lovely to have you. It seems like ages ago. And what? That was in January, right? So much has happened.
Exactly. This is why every moment it seems so long when we're seeing so many horrors that we need to describe.
Absolutely.
So at least a good thing today I'm seeing you.
Yes, and that's where those of us who are not based in Gaza, we're quite lucky in that sense. We watch, we get angry, but we literally must appreciate the fact that our lives are not under threat on a per second, per minute, and per daily basis. Let's get straight down to it. So last week, it was May 2nd, I think it was, or May 1st, that the world, again, thanks to social media, we started to read pretty much an SOS, right? SOS from the Freedom Flotilla, which in this case was called the Conscience, saying, look, we're being attacked, there's drones all over the place, the boat, the ship is damaged, etc. You're part of that, that effort. Tell us what happened exactly.
Well, let's start by the fact that I like to say, especially in the last couple of days, that we live in a world where activists and students and people who are searching for the truth and justice are being treated as the villains of the world. And that's not a surprise. I myself am I've been 10 days in Malta, preparing and helping with this mission to sail towards Gaza and break the siege. Imagine that, just civilians doing what governments should do. So we gathered in a confidential way because we know exactly what happened with other freedom flotillas. We know in 2010 how 10 people were killed by the Israeli forces. So we were preparing the mission to break the siege, to help the people of Gaza, to create a humanitarian corridor, because we know that it's been more than 2 months that all the borders are closed. And I myself, I live in Egypt, and I live it very, very close to information. I see all the border closed. I see the famine. We see what is happening. So our hope was to at least give an example to the world, to see how civilians, they come together and they're trying to break the siege. So by preparing this mission that night, I will start by saying that I am not surprised by the people who are butchering children on the daily basis. It's impossible for me to be surprised that they actually bombed us in international waters. So even if it's no official investigation, it's not like we cannot guess. We know exactly that few hours before the attack, it was aircraft C-130 Hercules from Israel that flew at a very low altitude towards Malta and came back. So also after the attack, that it was at 12:23 a.m., basically 2 drones bombed the ship, bombed the engine. It was fire explosion. So basically we're talking about a war crime, and it doesn't matter that it's in international waters in Europe. That doesn't make it more important. It's just an extension of the genocide in Gaza, how the humanitarian corridor or convoy, it's always attacked like we are the villains. So by that hour, our ship Conscience, we have several civilians we are all civilians. They were on the ship. They were coming towards Maltese waters, waiting for us to board the ship the same day and sail towards Gaza. Even if a day before, Palau took our flag down. So basically, they bombed the ship without a flag. Definitely, after everything that happened, we started to realize bit by bit why it happened and how it happened. So Palau took the flag down. And a few hours after that, the ship got bombed. There were 4 of the civilians on board that had minor injuries with burns and cuts. And basically the entire communication system went down. The ship started to take a lot of water. And we received those videos that the world saw around 3 a.m. in the morning. I received a call around 2:30, and I couldn't believe it. It was actually Jacob Berger. He called me. You need to wake up right now and come to the house where we are all together because we just got attacked by drones. I had like 30 seconds to say to myself, this is not possible. What do you mean? Not because it's happening in Europe again, but it can be like a declaration of war in international waters. So I keep saying to myself, I hope they are okay, everybody's okay. I was supposed to be there in a couple of hours. I was not surprised, but at the same time, I couldn't believe it, how the world, I was asking myself one question. Let me see now if they care just because it's in Europe, because you know the hypocrisy of the West. If it happens in Europe, they maybe have some kind of interest thing that did not happen. So we did this SOS, you saw the videos on social media, first leading for the Maltese government to care about the lives that are on board, because we are talking about international Maltese waters, international waters in Malta. So I remember that was more than 7 hours, nobody went there, absolutely nobody. So the entire press of the world started to contact us. I was feeling this, I had this feeling of unease, and I was not feeling quite safe because until that moment, I didn't have this situation so close to me. I mean, the Zionist cruelty. So at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter necessarily my feelings, but I realized how serious the situation was after. You just have to remember the story of Hind Rajab, and then nothing will surprise you. And we started to say the story and tell the story to the world and try to contact as many authorities as possible. And we knew exactly how the smear campaign will start just in that moment. I knew exactly how they are going to use those tactics on us, that maybe we are carrying weapons, or maybe we are Hamas, or maybe we are something. I knew, and we are all prepared for this type of situation. So we decided to take smaller ships and go ourselves. And we went, I think we sailed for like 45 minutes, 1 hour in smaller boats. And you saw the videos how we reached to the conscience, and we saw how the hole was in the boat. I mean, literally and I have to also to mention, after the attack, it was a tugboat that circled the ship for 1 hour, a tugboat that did not identify itself. And after that helped to put down the fire. So it was those two incidents that I guess by logic, the international community should get involved and see why this aircraft flew from Israel towards Malta hours before, and why this tugboat waited for 1 hour without identifying itself and then helped to put down the fire. So we reached there. It was a very emotional moment to see our colleagues, and we had a little bit of more signal, Starlink there to receive images and get a little bit of electronic system of the boat to work. We talked with them. And after that, we were very scared of another attack that night, because civilians were still on boat. Until yesterday, the last news that I have, that no authority from Malta actually contacted us, was everything. They said they're going to repair our ship. But the question is, my personal question is, why did they offer to repair the ship and everything to be so silent? Because you have to question absolutely everything in a situation like this. If you did not even, we contacted from the Prime Minister to every single person of authority in Malta, and nobody came to talk to us. We were treated like villains. And actually, I felt this atmosphere in Malta at some point after the videos went viral on social media. We're talking about the Israeli citizens, that they were seeing us. Personally, I had this experience that they were trying to provoke me on the street and somehow to tell the world that we're some type of violent people, or trying to take pictures. They took pictures of us, and they were trying to provoke physically and verbally. So it doesn't matter. This doesn't mean we knew exactly, and from the beginning, what can we face? And we know exactly what Freedom Flotilla faced years back, and how people lost their lives for this cause. But right now, there are many questions. How is it possible? And maybe that's the wrong question. But we live in a world where not even when the cruel entity, and I'm going to say allegedly only because it's not, you know how legal terms are. We have to say allegedly until a judge or whatever can rule a decision. So it cost me so much to say allegedly, because who would have bombed us? Malta? I don't know. Give me any other country who has this history of bombing humanitarian convoys, and with all the proofs that we have. But let's use it legally, allegedly. Allegedly, Israel bombs yet another humanitarian convoy. And nobody, with all their King Kong in their chest with democracy and freedom, not one type of investigation, or at least to come to talk to us, or at least to have that intent for hours and hours and hours to see if our colleagues are okay on the boat. And not to add that the first day, the armed forces of Malta intercepted us when we were close to the conscience. You have this feeling you're being treated like a villain. You cannot approach. Why we cannot approach? At least to see if our colleagues are okay. I posted videos when they intercepted us, and the next day we wanted to go again, and they said, if you approach, you're going to be arrested. So it's a whole situation that it cannot surprise anyone.
Indeed. Thank you so much. It sounds horrid, horrific, terrifying. And I know that this is one of those moments where, thank God for social media, because everybody who could took it on board. I remember reading comments, and there were people saying, I'm calling my ambassador now. I'm calling the Malta ambassador in Australia. Call this person. And numbers were being shared literally on social media comments. And of course, I was worried about you guys. And I actually remember reaching out to our peeps in Brazil and asking, who's on the boat, who's okay, who's fine, and everything. So we do thank God that you're okay. What I would like you to explain to my listeners is how long does it take to prepare for such an operation? Because you're taking so many items. Israel has blocked Gaza from all humanitarian, every single type of humanitarian aid you could think of. All vital things have been blocked for the last 60 plus days. And here you are, you and your team, or you and the team, whichever you prefer, heading to Gaza again, having been under attack before in, I think, 2010, I think you said, where, a couple of people did lose their lives. I mean, I'll let you tell us about that later. How long does it take to prepare for such a mission?
Well, first of all, we have to keep in mind the bureaucratical warfare, because this is where it starts. Because we do have will, where in this case, with this Freedom Flotilla with conscience, we were people from 21 countries. We came with our own means and to do whatever it takes in an unprovoked way, a pacifist way, with the justice and eagerness to help the people of Gaza. As you said, there's nothing, not a bottle of water is entering Gaza for more than 2 months. So it's not about how long it takes for us to organize ourselves, because it's one phone call away for us to put the heart on the plane and go wherever it takes to help. It's about the bureaucratical warfare that we face for such a long time. And we know that Freedom Flotilla, the last one, was stuck for 1 year and a half. And we were looking forward doing the anti-violence training and understanding what happened in past Freedom Flotillas when 10 people were killed, 9 or 10 people, I'm not sure exactly between those two numbers. And actually we had sons and daughters of the people that were killed in the past Freedom Flotilla. So every day we got this type of news with the bureaucratical warfare and with the paperwork. Can you imagine that we have to literally plead for a paper for us to be a humanitarian convoy? And not because they care for our lives, no, simply because they are slave to the Israeli agenda and to this genocide. They are all complicit. Now, if it wasn't for the bureaucratical warfare, definitely it would have been faster, because it's a matter of a very short amount of time with so many people with will and good heart for us to gather all the aid, to prepare the ship, to do everything. But I remember in the last 10 days, every day we had a different news. Like we have a delay, another delay. Now they took Palau to the flag down 1 day before. And keep in mind that we were quite confidential, not because we had anything to hide, just because we know how Israel works and we know how they can delay us and create problems. And we were right to be confidential in the end, because look what happened. So if it's not for all this corruption and the so-called democracy that I don't see it, or freedom of speech that it's lacking completely in the Western world, I cannot tell you a time frame. It depends on how much they like to torture you mentally and with papers.
Thank you. Yes, torture, you did call it, yes, bureaucratic warfare. You mentioned Palau twice now. Palau is a small island, one of those polygon islands. It's always a tongue twister. They tend to actually vote against the resolutions. Any resolution that's against Israel, they're part of those small islands, in the Pacific. They vote against any resolution that's against Israel. Would that be why the flag was taken down? And also what you experienced from the Maltan government, and indeed, like you said, some Maltan people?
Well, first of all, I would like to start with the Maltese people. They were actually quite great people. And many people were saying on social media, like, we are embarrassed with our government. I had experience on the street with so many people coming to me after the videos went out. And anything unique, they went and protested with us in front of the institution buildings that we went to. I'm not going to say, there are people and people, but my experience with the Maltese people was quite nice. But talking about the authorities, I'm telling you, until yesterday, nobody came to talk to us. Nobody, even if they gave all those statements in newspapers and whatever, that we are going to repair the ship, if we're making an investigation of something, until now we have 12 people on board. Until today. I'm not in Malta anymore, but 12 people are still on the boat who has a hole in it, that they chose to stay there just because we do not trust the authorities to make their so-called investigations and call us, I don't know, some type of violent and armed group. And talking about Palau, of course, Palau knew more or less that we're talking about freedom flotilla. I don't want to do any mistake there. Many spokespersons that in the team that they know way more details than I do, maybe technical details from months back. But they took the flag down a day before. Actually, I'm talking about the same day, but it was past 12. And they took the flag down because somebody told them to do so. So imagine that if you want to bomb a ship and you want to destabilize this mission, you actually need to take a flag down. So it would not be, I guess, some kind of declaration of war. Because if you bomb a ship that has the flag of a country, definitely you're bombing that country. This is how legally it's considered. So imagine hours before they take the flag down, we take this decision to go to the ship and make everything public, and maybe Malta can give us a flag, or you have a lot of hope. But this did not happen. What happened was simply they tried to hide the incident as soon as possible, and no governmental entity so far, they did not comment on it because they know exactly if they comment, they have to call it as it is, a war crime in international waters.
So what's the status right now with the ship and, of course, the mission, the humanitarian mission? What's the status right now?
Well, Freedom Flotilla, first of all, it's an idea. It's trying to break the siege and trying to show the world how civilians, we care, people care about people, and we do not have any more expectations about the government and the system and all this oppression. We are pacifists. We are people who believe in justice. We are people who want to break this siege and create, as I said from the beginning, this humanitarian corridor, because the genocide and the famine, I cannot even say. The genocide word for me, it's too small right now to describe what I'm seeing and what the world is seeing, but they're blind to see. So right now we have the ship, the Conscience, we have it there in the middle of the sea in international waters with people on the boat. And like, we cannot lose faith. We want to continue definitely. And I saw something so beautiful from so many messages and people from other countries that they're telling me and telling us, I have a ship, I want to go right now. I have one too, I want to go right now. I want to join. I want to do. It's good to see how people are receiving this. But definitely we are fighting here a big monster with a big propaganda and smearing campaign, and we are trying. And first of all, it's the bureaucratic warfare. And honestly, politically speaking, and as I said, the people of Malta, at least what I've seen, they answered very nicely to us, but the government of Malta, whatever authorities, I want to say, as Nicole Genes, towards the government of Malta, shame on you from the river to the sea. You have no excuse for that type of behavior. And just because you said you're going to repair the ship, that doesn't mean you did not treat us as we're some kind of criminals when we are humanitarian workers.
Indeed. So what do you think should happen? What do you think? Okay, it's alleged. You mentioned about the Hercules plane. You mentioned about the drones. If it does turn out that it is Israel that actually is responsible, what do you think should happen?
Good. That's a very strong word in what we are used to. What should happen with the case of King Raja? What should happen with the tens of thousands of innocent people who were butchered literally in front of our eyes? The thing is, we want accountability, and not only for the case of Freedom Flotilla, we want for this genocide and occupation and for the apartheid. What it should, in a world where justice exists and people, they still love God, all this madness should end, and they need to answer for their crimes. It's I believe for me it's a smaller crime compared with what people in Gaza are suffering, and I'm not taking all the importance out of it, but thank God that we are alive. We could have got out of there. We can continue. We have our families. But I lost faith in the system and saying what it should happen. Accountability. What they are putting on us and how they are treating us as villains and criminals when we are actually the victims of a war crime. All the authorities, they should do their work. The European Parliament, USA, whoever, they're saying they represent us because we choose them, they govern over us. And literally, we are treated like criminals even when we get out from any airport right now. And I have colleagues that they will go back to Germany, for example, and they will be treated like the worst criminals in the world. Other colleagues, they are going to Brazil, and to Brazil, it's more pro-Palestinian. But many other colleagues, they fear to be arrested just because they try to do a good gesture. So I don't know what to tell you. What should happen? We all know what we pray to happen. The end of the genocide, of the apartheid, of the occupation. We want justice and accountability. This should happen. But are we surprised after we saw yesterday, actually, or 2 days before, a massacre in the food market and the restaurant, so many innocent people and children? That child who was selling coffee and he was killed on the spot, and many other children. I'm talking only the last case that I saw. What expectations do we have, my friend? What if we're not gathering as people and we don't understand that this earth the only should that I will use should belong to the people, not to the system and to those cowards who are excusing the blood of innocents for them to have more money and more power and more manipulation.
It's interesting. Every time you said civilian, I heard humanitarian. Every time you said civilian, we're just ordinary civilians. I heard humanitarian, people who are driven by a deep sense of human responsibility to another human. Tell me, you said there were 20 nations. Like, how many countries are these? Because I know there's you from Romania. There's
21 countries in total.
So which countries? Give us an idea of some of the countries.
Well, we were from Germany, Romania, Italy, from Ireland, UK, United States, many countries. Right now I have to go. Greece. There were many countries, 21 in total. Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Syria. We had Palestinians as well. We had people from all over the world. And I'm saying civilians because they are trying to make us like we had some kind of preparation of army. And we saw the articles. Oh, they are carrying weapons. Where is your proof? Show me the proof I'm carrying weapons. Show me the proof. And if you do the investigation, we want eyes as well, that the eyes of the world being there when you do the investigation. Because we know exactly all your lies and your manipulation.
Indeed. When I met you, Nicole, I'll tell you, one of the things that fascinated me, and you and I had this conversation about Romania, and we talked about how people like us who come from, countries where we have a history of oppression and, subjugation and stuff, we're able to so easily, without a shadow, without even a second thought, connect with what's going on in Palestine. All these countries you mentioned, I'm thinking to myself, Azerbaijan, these are countries that are not particularly rich, but they're doing what they can. Do you think the world, and this is the people, I'm not talking about the government, do you think the people of the world are coming together for the Palestinians, or is it like a 50-50 for Palestine and 50-50 for Israel?
I don't think it's 50-50. I think it's not only Palestinian cause, it's a humanity cause, because you cannot sit back, and I literally met people that they didn't know anything about, but they showed me a video. I don't know where this is happening, but this cannot happen anymore. Doesn't matter if we're talking about Sudan or Congo or Palestine or Haiti. It's humanity that comes together. And The only problem that many people are afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak up, because the power stays in the numbers and the power stays in us being together. But it's very difficult, one thing, my friend, it's very difficult to take the chains from the mental slavery of the people, because people are used to being fed all this information and to say, yes, but the fact checkers and the news and the Western media, they said that, so that might be true, must be true. So it's very difficult to take the chains of mental slavery that people are living nowadays. It's very difficult for them to understand that they've been manipulated their entire life. But it's true that in many countries, and I'm going to give an example, Germany, for example, they have a lot of protests and they are being mistreated to levels I cannot even describe and explain. And Germany being the second country that it's supplying weapons to Israel the most. And I know that there are people supporting the cause and people from diaspora who are living there and they're supporting the cause. But the governments, they are oppressing the people. Even here in Romania, actually, sometimes I do not feel safe into my own country, because we know the case of Romania. We have millions of illegal settlements. We have politicians who are giving nationalities to Israelis under the table. There are many things happening. It's like a plan B, not only Romania, Cyprus, Poland, all those countries. We are like a plan B just in case something is happening. So until we understand that the government must be at the service of the people, especially if you fill your mouth with democracy and all the system of NATO, you must understand that that person who is in power, that person is at your service, at the service of the people. He should serve the country and the people. You should not be afraid. But when you stand alone, because the rest are afraid, why would you accept that mental slavery? What example would you give for the next generation?
One of the things, you've said it, and I think you hint at solidarity. When you look at what's happened with Ukraine, the way the world, incidentally, just this week, there was a video because, of course, the World Cup is going to America. And there was a conversation between one of the FIFA officials and Donald Trump during a press conference. And a journalist asked Donald Trump, are you aware that Russia is not allowed to be part of the World Cup tournament? And Donald Trump usually, as per usual, said, no, I'm not aware. And he asked, and then, the FIFA official, you could tell that he suddenly felt the need to explain, it's because whatever. And then Trump said, okay, maybe I'm not in charge. Maybe that will bring them to the table for peace. Yet, so we see this galvanizing of support for Ukraine in a way that we don't see it for Gaza. What do you think informs that? Why is Israel still allowed to be part of the Eurovision Song Contest, the EU football tournament, and I don't know if they qualified for the World Cup, but if they did, perhaps even the World Cup. Why is that allowed? And what's going on in Gaza is still going on.
I'm going to tell you from my experience. I lived most of my life in European countries, and right now I live in Egypt. But I'm going to tell you how the indoctrination starts very slow at a very young age. And they are telling us, it was not my case because my father took care of us not to have TV until we were like 15, but generally it starts like this. First of all, it starts up with this culture about Israel. And I'm not talking about the Jewish people. We have a beautiful community of Jewish people in Romania, and Muslim and Christians. We're talking about Zionism. So it starts with this culture of Zionism and what America represents, and how this American dream, and how they are always the good guys and the rest of the people, maybe people of color or whatever, are the bad guys. So they're starting with this indoctrination at a very young age. So we can see, let's say, how an Arab is being portrayed in most of the movie from the Western world. They put a bomb and they put certain type of clothing, and they're creating this idea. But you know how much I like to laugh in the faces of those people and tell them, do you not use numbers? Do you know where the numbers come from? Do you know where the first musical note came from? Do you know where the alphabet? Do you know algebra. Do you know, what do you know about what you're actually using here, and to know where the culture was created and in what countries? Do you know that? They do not know. But just because it's easier to be manipulated, and as I said, the fact checkers, here in Romania, we have this culture of everybody looking at the news and saying just because it was on the news, that must be true. So we cannot expect anything when they are, just because America is saying it, that Ukraine and Russia, they deserve our attention. They do not care what is happening because they are making everything like a religious competition, and a lot of hate, a lot of Islamophobia, a lot of people who don't know anything about it. As a Christian, I read the Quran, and as a Christian, I read about the Jewish religion because I want to be informed. I want to know in order to have a debate and to understand what is happening. So I can blame them because we live in a world where nobody has an excuse to say, I do not have information. What do you mean? We have actually an extra quantity of information that doesn't make it true. So it's your responsibility as a human being to be your own fact checker, and not to admit that you're silly enough, I wanted to say something worse, silly enough to receive the news and just consume it. You cannot, and when you said why Russia it's not in the European, why Israel is, because people accepted to be the mental slaves and to say, oh, just because I'm a Christian, I have to stand with Israel, how the evangelical Christians are doing it. They don't even know who's the Semite. They don't even know the definition of what it means to be a Semite. So it's a very simple question here. Are you declaring that you're not a smart person and you cannot make your own investigation about your own life, your own religion, and you have to take everything ready like a fast food information and take it just because it's easy? If you sit down and you tell me Israel is good, Palestine is bad, and you do not have an argument just because you accepted from the beginning of your life that they manipulated you.
Indeed.
So it's just this for me. It's just lack of information and people accepting being not very smart.
Right, I'm going to be opening up the lines in a few minutes after this next question that I asked Nicole, because I'm sure some of you were calling earlier whilst the conversation was going on, and you should know the process by now. I open up the lines 0201 277 0993, 0201 465 7190, and you should have been sending your messages to 0809 597 5805. Nicole, as a storyteller, as somebody who you do a lot of your stories on digital, let's talk about the algorithm versus empathy, or should I say the algorithm of outrage versus the algorithm of empathy. Which would you say is winning, literally?
Oh, first of all, that would be the problem of the world that has a very short span of attention. I like to believe what I'm seeing from the pro-Palestinian movement, that we are actually way bigger than the enemy, and we know that, but we're being suppressed. We're being shadow banned with all the algorithm and the problems, and they cannot shut us up forever. It's impossible. But I'm seeing my intention. I'm going to tell you about my intention, because I really don't care about the technicalities. They shadow ban me, I continue. I don't even look at the numbers. If I wish to educate one person, for me, my friend, it's enough. If I hear somebody saying, I learned something from you, it's enough. I have that, digital soldier of the truth, that it's one more. So for me, what I am trying to do, I'm trying to take the information and do it in a very easy, comical, sometimes offensive way. And I'm going to explain you why we live in a very sensitive generation, that if they feel offended about something, they need to come at you. In order to come at me and contradict the information that I'm putting out there, they need to study. So in the process of the study, maybe they are going to learn something. So for me, I gave up. I know that it's no freedom of speech. I accepted that I just have to keep going. So sometimes there's a lot of empathy, but the problem is that we are facing a huge propaganda that is very well funded, and sometimes you don't know who you're speaking to on social media.
Indeed, you can call back now. You see, I needed her to answer my question first before I. These are my co-hosts, Nicole. Don't worry, they know the rules. One question or one comment, short, sharp, succinct. Hello.
Good evening, Sisiogi.
Good evening. Good evening, Emmanuel. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing well. I want to appreciate your guest and the team. And when I saw the news, I was surprised. It means that the Israeli government or whoever is responsible for this, has been tracking them, to strike them so that those the aids won't get into Gaza. But my question for her is, do they have any aim of restarting this process?
Okay.
Probably not by sea, but by any means necessary so that we can get some relief materials to the people in Gaza. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. You can call back now. His question, actually, you might want to write it down. I should have told you to keep a pen. His question was, first of all, he praised you and he said thank you. And then his question was, do you have any intention, is there a plan to do the flotilla again, but not on sea? Wait, I'll come to you. Let me answer this call. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Robert.
Okay, go ahead, Robert.
The question I want to ask, I know there has been a standing war in the beginning between Israel and the Middle East, Palestine, Egypt, and the rest. But according to what we read, God says vengeance is mine. Why is it that it is difficult for the Israelites, being the choosing one of God, to leave vengeance for God?
Okay.
That they are taking the bull by the horn and retaliating.
Okay.
What lesson are they trying to teach us, we Christians? If somebody do us, we retaliate, how? Because they are number one choosing nation that we
I see. Okay, thank you.
That God tell us.
Thank you. Right, so my last caller, I don't know why his name suddenly gone out of my head. What he's saying is that if Israel is the chosen one, I think that's what he said, he was referring to himself, believe that Israel is the chosen one, why then don't they learn to leave vengeance for God? Why do they keep fighting? But I was going to say you're not here to speak for Israel, but you may want to add to that. So the first question was Emmanuel, who wants to know if you're going to be, if there's a plan for the flotilla, the humanitarian aid to go via another route, or if it's possible, than to go by sea. And my last caller, I'm going to give you 2 minutes because they'll start calling.
Yes,
Robert,
first of all, I can tell you about the plans. The plan is to continue advocating. The plan is to continue finding a way. The plan is to rescue the people of Gaza. And honestly, right now, I'm even afraid to say too many details, knowing that when we did the preparation was in a confidential way, and I do not want to speak with if my team is not right here, and we know it's not safe,
of course,
for us to say any plan that is happening. But I can promise you, and may God help me to continue with the help and advocacy and everything I can do possible till my last breath. And to the second question, I would really very much like to answer, even if I'm not going to speak for Israel, but I'm going to tell you something. When they are saying they are the chosen people by God, I want to tell to the world, what God? A partial God? A racist God? A God that only loves Israelis? A God that they think it's only for them? It's that type of God that they are referring to? Chosen by who and how? And if you're so chosen, you should be righteous and you should respect the God's way. But it's completely the contrary, not chosen by God, it's chosen by hell. Because when you're butchering children and you're saying you're doing that in the name of God, I'm sure you're going to answer God one day for what you're doing.
Indeed. Sorry, you can call back now. I will pick up your call. Right. Okay, I'm coming to you now. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good evening. Good day. I'm Mr. Jeffrey. I want to say thank you to our special guest today.
Okay, Nicole. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Her name is Nicole.
Yeah, I'm
yes.
saying a big thank you to the humanitarian service they are carrying out, and all their efforts. But most importantly, I would like peace to be restored, peace to return, because we cannot. This issue has been lingering for so long, and come to think about it, I still can't imagine why the Egyptians themselves are blocking their having a blockade on Gaza even before the October 7th. Because Gaza seems to be a secluded, a kind of a gated community. Israel is blockading them.
Well, it is gated. It is actually blocked. So it is a gated community.
Yeah,
yes.
what is happening? Israel,
okay, thank you.
Gaza, we have more Muslim in Gaza and more Muslim also in Egypt. Why can't they open up
Thank you.
to the Gazans so that they have a free trade? So you keep bothering us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a question that many have been asking. I mean, if without even just accepting Egypt or just, sort of spotlighting Egypt, why are the rest of the Arab countries, the Gulf countries, the rich countries, the ones who are in constant communication with America, why are they not doing anything, at least about the humanitarian aid? Nicole, hold on to that. I know I see you smiling, and that's not a good smile. Snigger, probably. Let me just answer this one and I'll come to you. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am Anita from Lagos State.
Okay, go ahead, Anita.
Okay, I have a complaint.
A complaint? Okay.
Yes, concerning the JAM 2025.
Oh, no, you're calling to the wrong show. Sorry, we're done with that. Right. So, over to you. Oh, hold on. They're calling again. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Engineer Kunda, calling you from Ikorodu.
Go ahead, Engineer.
Now, I've listened to your guest. My concern is for the ship that she said was bombed by drone and so on. Now, what is the condition of that ship and the humanitarian aid on the ship?
Okay.
Is the ship able to proceed further or to go back to where it came from? Thank you.
Thank you. There you go. Well, he's an engineer, so he's going to ask those practical questions. Is the ship, are you still able to use the ship? Is it still, and what's the status of the aid on the ship? I'm going to give you 2 minutes because we don't have long and they're all calling now.
Yes. Well, supposedly Malta offered to pay for the repairing of the ships. So far, nothing happened. So I'm going to tell you what I saw with my own eyes and what I'm going to post, actually. I want in a couple of days to finish my documentary about it. We have a hole in the ship. The ship took water. The humanitarian aid, from what I know, more or less, it's okay. I don't want to give you a 100% decision because it's past days that I'm not there, and I don't know 100% if they took water or it's spoiled or something. But the ship is still waiting in international water for anybody, at least to. They promised us to dock the ship and repair it at sea. I don't know if that is possible, but so far nobody did anything. So we have the conscience with a hole in the ship, with the engine that was burned and that took water and was stopped, and it's still there in international water with 12 people on it.
Okay.
And the first question, why the Arabic countries, or why I'm gonna put the whole world, not only the Arabic countries, but if you want to ask me personally, as Nicole, I'm a Romanian who lives in an Arab country, and I have this question of despair and rage on the daily basis. If you want to ask me why it's happening like this, I would like to amplify the question to all the countries, and especially Arab countries, why it's happening like this. Is it worth it in front of humanity and God not to help? I will just amplify the question because interests are many, and we know all the political interests that they do have.
Nicole, thank you so much. Who believes our time goes so fast on this show? But my friend, it's been really good to see you. I'm so proud of the work that you guys are doing. All of you. I'm so proud. And look after yourself. Take care. Thank you for joining Borderlines.
Thank you so much for having me. And everybody continue listening to the show. We have amazing people and an amazing show. And I will see you on social media.
Yes.
So
certainly.
much. So nice seeing you, my friend. So nice seeing you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.